Welcome back, fishing friends, to another episode of Burley Fishing and another episode within the Burley Fishing lab, because the real lab I want to be in outside is not letting me fish. Guys, I am hankering for a bass, and the best I can do right now is play around with some of my tackle and lures, kind of get an idea of what the action looks like underwater, maybe learn some new techniques that I can apply as soon as I can go back out and fish once again. I cannot wait for that day. So stay tuned, we'll get some fishing action soon. I'm actually going on a trip to Florida. I'm gonna ship myself some rods, so you might not wanna miss that. I might even get a chance to go out on a boat and do some real fishing, so stay tuned. I honestly, guys, I'm gonna freak out. I can't wait. In the meantime, this is what we're doing right now. So today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down one of my new favorite lures, just, very recent to the market, that I started playing around with last year. That's called the Tokyo Rig. VMC has the most notable variety of it. Many other brands have also come to the market with something very similar. We're gonna look at a couple of those different variations today. We're also gonna look at a couple swing jigs to get an idea of what those look like underwater too. So stay tuned for that. Before we get to that though, if this is your first time to the channel and you like the content, please hit like and subscribe. Maybe even hit that notification bell if you want to see when I post more videos. It helps me out a lot when you guys do that. And also, as you watch the video, if you have any other ideas of baits, lures, action, stuff like that you'd like to see on the channel, don't hesitate to drop a comment below and let me know. I'm more than happy to read through those comments and get great ideas from you guys on different content that you want to see. And as always, as I like to mention, it saves me time from coming up with new stuff. I'd really rather, focus on the things that you guys care about. All right, without further ado, let's get to Tokyo rigging. All right, so a Tokyo rig looks like that. So we have an EWG hook, extra wide gap hook, which can come in a variety of different sizes. I see them anywhere from 1/0 to 5/0 usually, especially from VMC brand. And you've got like this little wire, right? Pretty skinny wire that comes down. And this is where we're gonna put our weights. So this is how it comes straight out of the box from VMC. Looks just like that. Notice we got a lot of mobility here. So it's gonna move pretty fluently underwater. And then that's our little line tie right there. So how do we rig this thing? What does it look like? Typically, you're gonna rig a creature bait, something like a craw, a beaver style bait, some sort of creature bait. I've got a couple different sizes here, but you might even rig a paddle tail, which would be really interesting. I haven't done that yet, but I wanna see what that looks like underwater today. All right, so let's rig one up right away so you guys can see what this looks like. Typically what you do, like I said, is you take like a craw or a creature. So we'll take our plastic, and then all we're gonna do is thread it like you normally would if you were Texas rigging, Carolina rigging, whatever you do with your EWGs. And then we're going to, therefore, punch that hook through the top, come out just a little bit below that. We're gonna slide her all the way up to that little offset part at the top. And then what I like to do is center the hook and actually roll the bait up onto it. I find this gets me a more straight body presentation. So we're gonna roll it right up. Hook comes out the top just like so. And then if we wanna stay weedless, which you can with this rig, we're gonna punch that hook back into the bait just a little bit, right? Kind of skin hook it, and then we have the straight body approach just like that. Nice and easy, but that's not it. Now that we've got our plastic on, we need to add our weight. So the way this wire works is you're just gonna take your lead or tungsten worm weights. We're gonna throw that on the wire just like that. And then, with my pliers, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pliers, right? We're gonna pinch just, oh my God, how am I so shaky right now? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pinch maybe just like an inch, maybe a little bit less, depending on how much weight you have on there. And we're just gonna fold it right at the worm weight, right? So you're just pinching that. We're gonna come down. From here, I'll usually let the worm weight drop, and then we'll just hold the wire itself. And we're just gonna pinch it, fold it down a little bit more. I'll slide the worm weight up, so it's gonna look like that. Now this obviously could get caught, so what I like to do is then come in from the side here, right? And pinch it all the way down so that it's hugging your weight. We're now not only weedless up here, but it's important that we also stay as weedless as humanly possible from this. There is another option with that, so this isn't bad. Another option is that we further pinch this wire all the way down, which is gonna look like that, and then you're gonna slide your worm weight down into it, And we should be able to get the whole wire into the mouth of the weight just like that. So now there's nothing exposed. Just got this little loop at the bottom, which is just fine. And then that's also going to, this is kind of cool about this rig, provide some movement. So the weight's gonna move up and down, providing a little bit of sound, a little rattle almost, a nice hard thump, which is just a different way to incite that reaction from the fish. So overall, that's what we're looking at. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we're also gonna be looking at some swing jigs. Now, they're not exactly the same in that they don't have this little bottom bouncing quality to them, but we do tend to work them in a similar manner, right? So swing jig, simply having like a heavy football, rugby style jig at the top, so it's nice and wide. These are 1/2 ounce, I think this one is. And then your EWG hook, rigged up the exact same way we just did with our Tokyo rig. And what we're gonna do with this is you can let it sit on the bottom. It's gonna float very similar, a little more vertical, stand-up action, kind of like our Ned shaky head stuff we were looking at in my last 2 videos when we were doing underwater footage, rather than the Tokyo, which is gonna be more horizontal. So that's the main difference. But you can, again, work it kind of the same way, dead stick it, hop it on the bottom, lift it and swing it, erratic action like that. Or with a swing jig, we can just let it sink to the bottom and then slow roll it, or even just swim it pretty quick. I mean, you can do that with a Tokyo too. It's just gonna swim in a little different manner. But being that they were so close in quality and I didn't really feel like doing 2 separate videos, they're both in this one. Okay, so let's take a look at the rigs that we're gonna be testing out today first. So we have the VMC Tokyo rig. Again, comes in different variety of sizes. I think we have today a 4/0 and a 3/0 variety. I got a couple different ones. Then we have, this one's from Carl's Bait and Tackle. It came in my MTB box for January. I think it's called Owner Rigs, and it's called the Jig Rig, okay? And it's something you can find on their website. It does have a twist lock on it, so this one's actually a little easier to rig and to rig straight than the Tokyo rig is. A little different variety. Got sort of this teardrop lead weight at the front, which, you know, you have their little split ring there, and then you got your twist lock, and then we have more of a straight shank hook instead of an extra wide gap. So a little different variation on it. Figured it'd be a good one to show today, especially because I think that would be the one to rig your paddle tails up to. I think it'll look a little better that way. Then we have our Rugby rigs. Okay, this one right here is an actual Rugby rig, also something I think came in a Monster Bass box, but we got a longer, much larger style EWG hook here, so I'm gonna have to throw a bigger bait on it. This is a 5-inch creature bait from Big Bite Baits. This one is the Battle Bug in Ozark Craw. So you got sort of that brown, dirty color with a red fleck, right? Dirty watermelon is how I like to think of it. And we got these crazy flapping stuff everywhere. It should have a lot of action in the water. Okay, the other one we have, this is the Hard Hat Swing Jig. Something you can also get on Carl's Club. Something I've gotten in a mystery tackle box quite a few times, but I've also used a bunch of times, and it catches fish. So we're gonna be comparing those, and we're gonna be using these plastics. One, just because I got a comment on my last video about this, we're gonna throw some Missile Baits, a brand I really do like, and we're gonna be looking at one of my favorite ones I've thrown so far. This is the D-Bomb, right? So this beaver style bait with their big flaps on the back, but it's got sort of these thicker appendages, which is pretty cool. But what I really like about this is the split color line. So we have that green pump on top, and on the bottom we got more of this chartreuse, right? It's called the Dill Pickle, and I love it. I've caught a lot of fish on Tokyo rigs with this specific bait, which is why it's rigged on a Tokyo rig right here. So we're gonna look at that one. We've got some Biospawn Exo Swims. Specifically, I think this is a Lab Magic color. It's a good one. I just showed you the Big Bite Baits Battle Bug. I'm gonna test that out. That came in a Monster Bass box. We got the Guggen Baits, right? 2 of them actually. Let me show you the other one, which would be the Kraken Craw and the Bandito Bug. Colors today, we have natural. It's one of my favorite colors they have in any of their plastics is the natural. It's got sort of this silverish bottom, and then the green pumpkin with blue fleck on top, which is money. So that one works solid. And then the Bandito Bug, we're going Summer Craw, right? So just straight green pumpkin style color. The last 2 we're gonna look at, we have a smaller beaver style bait with the Net Baits, which is, again, Net Baits is less expensive type model. It's something I would associate closer to like a Zoom, but I like them because the quantity that you get. Value-wise, Net Baits is pretty awesome. So this is the mini bee-bug, and it's mini. It really is kind of small, right? But nice little low-profile bait that you could throw on, mix things up. And finally, we've got the Vile Craw. This is a Biospawn. So we have 2 Biospawn. Yeah, so we're doing the Exo Swim and the Vile Craw, both Biospawn. And that one looks like that. This is white. Thrown this one a few times. I think I've caught fish on like a chatterbait with it before. Pretty awesome craw. It's got these nice little flaps, and it's got this crawfish wiener right here. That's how I think of it. Like, what the heck is this middle appendage? It's real strange. But good bait, lots of action. So we're gonna put them to the test. Now, unlike my last 2 videos, we can't just drop these in because they won't do anything. They require a nice tight line. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna rig them up one by one on the rod. So we'll go right to rod action with this, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 baits to go through. So I'm gonna play around with them on that second camera so you guys can see what they look like underwater. And you may notice with the second camera here that we got some purple rocks, right? I wasn't kidding you. I told you this was a fish tank. My kid had a fish in it until it died an early death a few months ago. So we're putting it to new use. Got some rocks in there, so you shouldn't hear as much sound as you might have heard in my last 2 videos, that little ping, ping, ping on the bottom, sorry. But give us some good variety. Also give us a look at what these baits might do on that uneven surface on the bottom of your local bodies of water. A little more realistic, okay? So let's get to it. Okay. First one we're gonna do is that Missile Baits D-Bomb rigged up to the Tokyo rig, and I think this has a 3/8 ounce tungsten worm weight on the bottom of that. We've left this worm weight a little free so it can move around. Mind you, the base of this Tokyo rig is a little beat up. This came straight off of a rod. I was using it during the season, so she's done some work. Okay, so what you're gonna see right off the bat is what I told you to expect, that horizontal position that the bait takes when it hits the bottom. So if you're just dead sticking it, expect this to just sort of like flap around with the current a little bit. It's not gonna do too much more than that, but it's gonna stay up off the bottom. So the nice thing about the Tokyo rig staying off the bottom, same as what you're gonna see with the jig rig here, is that if you have a murky bottom in your Texas rigging, that plastic's gonna get buried in the murk and fish ain't gonna see it. And if they don't see it, they ain't gonna bite it, right? So the Tokyo brings you up off the bottom a little bit, kind of like a bottom bouncer, right? So good, interesting variation here. You guys can see some good action from the flaps on the D-Bomb. Looks awesome. And you also see how the bait takes a little dive bomb with the nose as the 3/8 tungsten weighs it down, right? So this would be just sort of the hopping movement. I'll show you a clip right now of me catching fish, doing the hopping movement with the Tokyo rig. Go.
Yep, got him. Got him. Dude, monster bass. Monster bass. Oh shit. Shit. Get in. Yep, another big bass. Another decent sized one. Shit, man. The Bandito dough. Right in the top.
Hey, good job, me. All right, so now that you're back, you can take a look at this again underwater, because I couldn't see it then. I had no idea what I was doing. That was the first day I ever fished a Tokyo rig, and I was like, yes, we got fish. Since then, I've caught plenty more, but the thing looks pretty good just with that standard hopping action. The swing action is gonna be similar to what you saw with like your shaky head, or if you're just jigging anything on the bottom and you do the swing, it's gonna be like this, right? And you can see again, some good movement with that D-Bomb. Looks awesome, right? So stellar approach. Dead stick it, hop it, swing it. You know, there's all sorts of things we can do with this. And I knew this one was gonna look good underwater. So let's try some different ones. All right, next up, we'll look at the 4/0 that we just rigged with the Vile Craw. We got a 1/4 ounce lead weight on there. So we're gonna drop that guy in. You can see the big claws on this craw, they make a lot of movement, right? And that little middle appendage, the craw wiener, also doing a lot of flapping around. And we're gonna use, again, similar techniques. So hop, let's do the swing. Yeah, that vial craw looks pretty solid. You guys can also see probably a little bit of difference in drop speed. Obviously, we're not using tungsten. This is a lighter weight. You know, it's gonna make a difference. Now, something you could do with this that I think is pretty cool and I've tried before is throw 2 1/4 ounce or lighter lead weights on there, 2 worm weights. And what'll happen is you actually create a little bit of a clacking, right? So they'll knock into each other. So if you are finding that the hopping technique or being a little more active or noisy is landing fish that day, basically you don't have finicky bass, you might want to vary it up like that. So just something else you can throw onto a Tokyo rig and works really well. In fact, the video I showed you a little bit ago, catching bass, that's how we did it. We had 2 1/4 ounce lead weights on there knocking into each other, and it got us a reaction bite. Next! Okay, so next up we'll take a look at that jig rig. Paired up to that, we've got the Guggen Kraken craw in that natural color. Drop her in. Looks really similar to that Tokyo rig. It's a good option as well. It might be a little bit cheaper. I'm not very sure. This is a 5/0 hook on that, by the way. Same idea. We're gonna do a little hopping. I do like the action on these Kraken craws. Looks good. Those claw appendages, they have like a little perpendicular flap that causes them to move a little bit more crazy, as you can see there, right? So same thing. Let's look at the lift and swing. Looks good. You guys saw the hop in action. Let's do a dead stick. Okay, dead stick, to me, a little bit different how it just lays flat. I don't think the Tokyo did that as badly. But all in all, not too bad looking. Next up, we have one of my personal favorite pairings. That is a watermelon Bandito bug paired up with, I did say summer craw. Okay, I said summer craw is watermelon. That was just the bag I had handy, whatever. So this is a watermelon colored Bandito bug paired up with a green lead weight. So we just got a painted lead weight, so it all kind of matches up. Looks a little bit better in my opinion. And then I think we got a 4 or 5/0 hook there. So let's drop this sucker in. There you go. So versus the D-bomb, flaps moving very similarly. This one has more appendages, so it's gonna look a little different. It's something where if I'm looking for more action, I might go with something like a Bandito bug versus the beaver style bait. So beavers just have the tail, more of a bug style bait or a creature bait is gonna have a lot more appendages. That's the idea. They have more action. I have caught a lot of fish on that Bandito bug combo. So that lift and swing looks pretty good. A hop movement, and I think I can see why. There's a lot of action, as you guys can see with that right there. It looks pretty good. All right, dead stick in it. Beautiful. All right. So back to the jig rig now, but we're gonna go with a paddle tail. So I think it's, most people are gonna throw like a bug style bait or a beaver style bait or a creature of some sort on the Tokyo rig. That's pretty commonplace, but I wanna throw a paddle tail. I think I showed you last video with the shaky head. Let's throw like the hog farmer swim bait style on there. It's a good variation. This is the same idea. So this would look like a bait fish sort of feeding on the bottom. Maybe if you dead stick it, a bait fish sort of just sitting on the bottom, dying, injured maybe. I think it looks pretty good. One thing I will say that I noticed with the jig rig just now as I was comparing is that you have to do your line tie on this third ring here. So we have our twist lock, we have our split ring to our teardrop lead weight, and then we got our hook. And there's like all these rings here together, kind of mashed together. And then that free moving ring right here does cause some issues. That's why you're gonna see it roll to its side, right? So a Tokyo rig doesn't do that. That will be one of the areas where I think a Tokyo rig really excels. What you're gonna see with this is a lot of times that teardrop falls, then we got our bait rolling to the side. Doesn't look too hot. It'll probably still catch fish. I'm gonna compare them on the water as soon as I can, I promise you. But right now, that's just something that stood out to me as being kind of a little funky. All right, so that does it for all the Tokyo styles, which I basically consider like a miniature bottom bouncer. let's take a look at the Rugby rigs here. Okay, so Rugby jig here with that 5/0 hook. Nice big 5-inch battle bug from Big Bite Baits. Let's drop her in. All right, so again, what you'll see with this, as I mentioned, is you can dead stick it. It's gonna stand up a little bit more, and that battle bug looks pretty dope right there. I like that a lot. Huge appendages, big flaps and antennae. It looks good. And what we can do with this is we can hop it around, okay? Got a big old 1/2 ounce weight at the front of this thing, so it's gonna fall really quick. We can hop that around, we can swing it. What I really like to do that I can't really show you in here is to slow roll it, right, back towards you, towards the boat. So let's see, just like a nice little slow movement, yeah. So you're like just kind of drag it on the bottom almost, and that's the point of having that Rugby style jig, that football jig at the front, is that you're just gonna knock around all the cover and be just fine. It's not gonna get hung up, especially if you go weedless like we did with the bug, and it just looks all around juicy. So we have the mini bee bug. This one's from Net Baits. It's a nice little small I almost said Bandito bug. Nice little small beaver style bait. And then we've got the hard hat swing jig with the 5/0 hook and the big football head weight at the top. And that is in 1/2 ounce. So drop her in. The smaller bug, probably gonna move around just fine in the water. We can do our little hop movement. Not too bad. Obviously we have a lot less action when compared to like that giant 5-inch battle bug. That's sort of the idea. So if we want a more subtle approach, we can throw one of these through, and then again we might do the swing one more time. We might hop it, might dead stick it, and we might slow roll it towards the boat. Just kind of crawl it along the bottom. I actually really like these creature, bug, and beaver style baits when you slow roll them. Let me line this up and show you. When you're slowly dragging it, you see how the appendages sort of flip and flap across that surface, okay? You're gonna be knocking into rocks and sticks and logs and leaves and all sorts of stuff, and just be moving around, just subtle action. I think that does some work on the fishies. So that's it for today. That is all the rigs we had. Again, Tokyo rig. It's that bad boy right there. One of my personal favorite rigs to just slaughter some bass on. And the whole idea there is we can keep the bait slightly off the bottom. If you have a murky bottom, it's a great option to keep the bait out of the murk so the fish can actually see it and react to it. Gives the bait a good horizontal presentation. It's a good option for bug and creature style baits as opposed to just Texas rigging it or something else like that. And it's actually a good option too for paddle tails. Give it a little different action, do something different with that. So if you guys are looking to try something new, check this rig out. Get some of these plastics, whichever ones you thought looked good. In fact, whichever things you thought looked good, go ahead and hit me up in the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Also, give me an idea of what you'd like to see next. Any comparisons, any reviews, underwater footage. Give me some ideas here, Fishing Friends, and we'll definitely be sure to feature that as soon as we can in the Burley Fishing Lab. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit notifications if you want to see when I post new videos. That helps me out a lot and I appreciate it. And if you have other fishing friends, share this with them. Don't hide it, right? See if you can help them out with their techniques and their approach to the water when they hit this fishing season. And we'll see you guys out there.